Hello, hello, folks. Hello, hello, everybody. If you are here to listen to Planned Parenthood Generation Action Leaders talk about how to organize hyper-locally, you are in the right place. Welcome. We're so excited to have you. We're going to give folks probably like 5 minutes to hop in, get settled, turn on their cameras if they want. We do ask that folks remain on mute while you're not speaking so we can limit feedback when possible. But if you're here and want to introduce yourselves, please use the chat. If you could say your name, your pronouns, where you are in the world, that would be great. And I can get us started. My name is Catagena. I use she, her pronouns. I'm in the beautiful Long Beach, New York. It is gorgeous today, not raining. So that is my one ray of sunshine right now, is that we don't have rain. But yeah, please hop in the chat. Tell us who you are. We're so excited to get us started. And I'm going to try to turn on some music while we wait.
Go over your head like a snapback. Uploaded a pic of a tap that, and your flow so old, granddad. It's just fantastic.
Hey, Laura. So there is an all chat. If you actually go to everyone at the top in meeting, you can chat all of us.
There's no debate on who's better. Come on, tell a man to go like Bruce Jenner. Shut down the dance like. The dance like. I be the one they love. I be the done. They know where I'm from. 01 to the 21. Yo, veteran, where is your hairline gone? I can't believe it. I can't believe the cheek.
Hello, hello, everyone. If you're here to hear about how the hook is hyper-local with Planned Parenthood Generation Action, you're in the right place. Welcome. We're so excited to have you. If you can go in the all chat and tell us your name, your pronouns, who you are in the world, where you are in the world, that would be great. And we'll get started in the next 2 minutes. Oh, maybe it's limited to hosts. Okay, let me see if I can change that. I think I should have fixed it. Potentially. Oh, I think it is only privately. Well, we're gonna get started in a minute or so. Maybe, Kenora, if you can help me turn on the chat for everybody, that would be.
You got it on.
I did? Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I fixed it. Okay, great. I wasn't sure if I actually fixed it because I've never had to make that edit. Well, yeah, we're gonna give it another minute or so. But yeah, if you didn't hear, if you're here to hear from Planned Parenthood Generation Action Leaders on how to organize hyper-locally, you're in the right spot. We're just asking folks to go into the chat, say your name, your pronouns, where you are in the world. That would be great. I see some other New Yorkers. Hello, Rochester. Hello, Jenny from Rochester. I know that there's some dope Title IX work happening up there in Rochester with Planned Parenthood, so I'm excited to see you there. We got some Delaware folks, some Texas folks. Ithaca, love Ithaca. Love your beer in Ithaca, truly. Awesome. Oh man, so many New Yorkers. Love that. Love that for us. Okay, awesome. Well, I'm so excited to see you all here. I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Hello, everyone. Like I said, my name is Catagena. I use she, her pronouns. I'm in Long Beach, New York, the beautiful Long Beach, New York, and I have the ultimate pleasure of being the Associate Director for Youth Organizing for Planned Parenthood, Planned Parenthood Action Fund, and Planned Parenthood Generation Action. And you might be asking yourself, what is Planned Parenthood Generation Action? I've never heard of them. Well, I'm here to tell you all about Planned Parenthood Generation Action. So PB Gen Action is a network of over 300 campus chapters organizing for sexual, reproductive health rights, and freedom in their communities. We are a network led by young people, my team. Like I said, I'm the associate director for the team, and I work with 3 incredible other young women who lead our affiliate organizers in youth engagement strategy, leadership development, and youth campaign infrastructure. But really, the heart and soul of our program is our chapter leaders, and we've got 2 of our chapter leaders today, Amber and Sophie. They're going to be chatting a little bit about their work in a little bit, so I'll let them introduce themselves when they come up. But I'm here to talk a little bit about our Campus Campaigns grant program. So what is Campus Campaigns? Basically, at the youth organizing team, more affectionately known as the Youth Squad for some folks, we believe that if you give young people the resources, the training, and the autonomy to determine what they need to organize around, they can build healthier and safer communities for themselves and their people. So these are just some of the folks over the many years who've run Campus Campaigns program, and you'll get to meet some folks in a little bit. Basically, what is the Campus Campaigns program? It is a micro grant program for our local affiliate and ancillary organizations. If you're familiar with Planned Parenthood structure, you know that we've got a national office, that's who I work for, and then we have local health centers and local programs happening all across the country. So you might know your local organizer. Basically, that is who I work with. I work with the local organizers on the ground. And I work with them in the Campus Campaigns grant program to make sure that they get small grants, each per campus, to be able to fund their campus organizing work, that they get access to quarterly trainings on movement building, that they get access to monthly coaching for staff organizers that manage their PP Gen chapters, and also access to the volunteer VAN accounts. And if you're not familiar with the VAN, it's the Voter Activation Network. It's basically this huge database that we have all this information about who our Planned Parenthood supporters are. Lots of other progressive organizations also have their own VANs. We also have information around voter databases. So it's really, really important to be able to track the growth of our supporter list in this database.
Hey, Kate, just to jump in for a second, we can't see the screen yet, so are you sharing the screen?
I believe I was. Hold on one second. I will reshare. Thanks for jumping in. Screen share. Desktop 2. Share. How about that? Thank you so much, Sophie, for jumping in. I would have definitely gone through all of this without any of the slides. So like I was saying, the resources that we provide are those small grants, the quarterly trainings, the ability to get monthly coaching calls, as well as access to the volunteer voter activation network accounts. And what we ask for in return is that each campus involved in the Campus Campaigns grant program creates a community-wide or a campus-specific campaign that gets access to reproductive health care, either increases abortion access, maybe increases access to sex ed, or does some other cross-movement organizing work. Each of these campuses are also required to organize during a national peak. So if you think about things like what happens on campus with Planned Parenthood, National Condom Week is a big deal in February. Voter Registration Day is always a big deal. There are lots of national peaks that happen across the year. We also ask for biannual reports, just to understand what's going on in the community so we can have a better understanding of how us at the national office can provide better resources for these local campaigns. And we also ask for a commitment to bring in new supporters to the PP Gen Action Network, because I know we're all organizers here. We know that the only way our campaigns and our issues can remain relevant and powerful is if we bring in more people to understand that. And then who supports this work? Who actually does this work? So number one, it's our national organizing team, the folks that I referred to at the beginning of the call. They're responsible for providing those resources that I talked about, the money, the trainings, the coaching for that local organizer. Then there's the local organizer. Those are the folks that y'all probably know on the ground, right? Those are folks that are meeting with volunteer leaders one-on-one. They're coaching their student leaders through the monthly learning objectives that they have, and they're regularly reporting to us at the national team. And then finally, really truly the two most important roles in this Campus Campaigns grant program are, number one, the student data managers. They're responsible for inputting and tracking all of the campus specific supporter information into that database that I talked about. And also we have our campus campaign managers. These are folks that are responsible for actually just creating the strategy and work plan to reaching their campaign goals. So they're the train conductors, they keep the train moving along. And we're so lucky to have some folks involved in that work here today to talk about their work. So I'm not gonna take up any more time. If you have had any questions, I'm gonna be going into the chat momentarily to start answering them. But first, I want to pass it off to Sophie, our student leader from Birmingham Southern College, to talk a little bit about her specific Campus Campaigns grant program. Go ahead, Sophie. And just tell me next when you need the next slide.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. I'm Sophie Herrington. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am a senior at Birmingham Southern College in Birmingham, Alabama. And I'm also the president of Planned Parenthood Generation Action at my organization, at my school. And so just to give you a little bit of background about my campus and about our chapter, we are a 4-year private liberal arts institution, and we have a very small campus. We are about 1,200 students, and our average class size is 16. So we tailored our campaign to something that would work at a small school. And also, when we initiated this campaign, we were a brand new chapter. And so we started in the fall, or in the spring of 2018, and we initiated our first campaign in the fall. So this was us trying to establish ourselves as a recognized organization on campus. And luckily, our field organizer at Planned Parenthood, who really helped us along this process, was a recent BSC alum. So that was very helpful for us to get our campaign started as well and help navigate through that. So if you go to the next slide. And the first thing we wanted to do was define the issue that we wanted to focus our campaign on. So the very first meeting we had, it was really, I would say, more of like a venting session. Like we just said, hey, everyone, just tell us what you want us to change on this campus, and we want you to be the people who lead this movement. And so when we left it up to our membership to just bring up things that they felt were problems on our campus, almost all of those issues centered around sexual assault. And survivors of sexual assault were not feeling prioritized on our campus. They were feeling neglected, and there wasn't a single positive story of someone's process of going through the response to sexual assault on our campus. So it was really important for us to hear the voices of our membership, but we also knew that we needed to hear the perspectives of the rest of our campus as well. So we created a survey. We modeled this survey after a survey that was distributed during the Obama administration to a pilot of 12 schools. And this survey addressed Title IX policies and sexual assault. So we took this and we redeveloped it to fit our campus and our issues. And it was about an 80-question survey, so we knew it was going to be difficult to get our student population to fill this out if they weren't already closely connected to our organization. So we recognized that a lot of students on our campus get parking tickets, and so we worked with campus police to get a get out of jail free card for parking tickets to be an incentive for answering the survey. Another thing we did was collect anonymous personal stories of people who experienced sexual assault on our campus. And this was probably one of the more difficult things we encountered because while it was our goal to get as many stories as possible and be as anonymous as possible, we found that really the only way we collected these personal stories was through relationships we had with individuals. And so that was just something that I thought was important to note, is that I think developing relationships with people and seeing themselves as a safe person to confide in can also really help you make change on your campus. And then we also researched campus policies and resources of our neighboring schools and of the alma mater of our school president. And so we tried to get as many different levels of data as possible, both quantitative through the survey data and our research, and also qualitative through our stories from our membership and the written stories of survivors. So we found that survivors were feeling neglected at every corner. And the campus sexual assault policies were also just inaccessible. The only way that you could access what resources and policies we had was through our online student handbook. And so that was incredibly difficult to find on our website. And it also was just, it wasn't known that that was a resource to our student body. And the only other time that sexual assault and consent was addressed on our campus was during orientation. And it was addressed inappropriately. I don't know if you've ever heard of the tea skit, but it equated, or it used tea as a metaphor for sex, and it was a comedic skit. And so it didn't set a tone of sexual assault was treated as a serious issue on our campus. And so we knew that changes needed to be made in how we addressed the issue and how we went through the reporting process. So here are some survey results that helped us more clearly define the issue. As you can see, this first question, 48% of students disagreed or strongly disagreed that they were aware of and understood our school's procedures for dealing with sexual assault. So almost half of our student body did not feel that they knew what the process was or what resources were available to them in the case of a sexual assault. So we knew that educating the student body on what was available to them was one of the most important things that we would focus on in our campaign. Next, we wanted to demonstrate the prevalence of sexual assault on our campus. So as you can see here, a significant percentage of students had experienced unwanted sexual contact with someone, and that number increased dramatically. If you could go to the next slide, when the question was asked about someone we knew. And so over half of students knew someone who had experienced unwanted sexual contact with someone on the campus. So we wanted to demonstrate, one, that people didn't know what to do, and two, that almost half of our student body knew someone who needed to know what to do. So next slide. So then we shifted from wanting to define the issue to demanding change on the issue. So we had definitions of what we wanted to focus on, and now we needed to decide how to address it. So we decided to address our administration directly, which again was possible for us as a small campus because we have easy access to our administration. So that was something we were able to take advantage of because of our campus size. So we invited our Title IX coordinator, who, in addition to being the Title IX coordinator, also had a significant role in Director of Student Life. So oftentimes this resulted in his position of Title IX coordinator being pushed to the side and not being prioritized. Additionally, we invited our BSC president, which was particularly important because we had just shifted from one president to a new one. So we wanted to make sure that our president prioritized sexual assault and saw this as a problem starting his presidency and kept in touch with this problem throughout his presidency. We also invited the director of residence life because many of people's personal stories involved the resident buildings, and so we knew that it was important for residence life to be involved in this process as well. We invited campus police because they are heavily involved in the reporting process. We invited the assistant director of student life because they are involved in student relationships and also Greek life, and Greek life was involved in many people's stories. We invited counseling, the athletics director, and our campus advisors who gave us a lot of support throughout this process and helped us navigate the survey and collecting data and knowing what was going on the faculty side as well. Next. So we decided to create a list of demands to present to the administration alongside the survey data, the personal stories, and the comparison of our school's resources to those of other schools. So we divided these into immediate demands, midterm demands, and long-term demands so that we could provide our administration with a timeline for when we thought these issues needed to be addressed. So the immediate demands that we wanted to change were the way that consent and sexual assault were discussed in orientation, because it was not set as a serious thing and it wasn't presented as something that was prevalent on our campus. So this actually was immediately addressed, and the next time that orientation rolled around, we had eliminated the T-skit and changed it to be a much more serious topic. The next immediate demand was creating a specific web page on our school's website that referenced sexual assault resources and policies, so it was easier to access and it was all in one place. The next section was midterm goals, and so we wanted to clarify our reporting data. What we noticed when conducting our own research about our school's policies was that our reporting data of sexual assault and other crimes committed on campus was incredibly confusing and was not labeled in a clear way. And also when we read our stories that were submitted to us, we knew that more people were saying that they reported their sexual assault than was being represented in the campus data. So we knew that this needed to change on our school's reporting. We also wanted to implement consequences for covering up sexual assault, because we saw that through our survey responses, people were worried about fraternities specifically covering for their fraternity brother who had been accused of sexual assault, so that they would better be able to remain without punishment on campus. And then next, communicating consequences for committing sexual assault. Our school has a heavy no plagiarism, no cheating policy, and we have an honor code, and it is discussed in detail during orientation, and there's a very serious tone, and sexual assault simply wasn't given the same weight. And so we wanted to make sure that at the very least, sexual assault was treated at the same level of seriousness as academic misconduct. And then our more long-term goals were hiring a Title IX coordinator whose only job was to be the Title IX coordinator, and also impartial investigators, because at our small campus, a lot of students felt that their privacy was not valued because of the amount of faculty and student life, and then often students who were involved in the process of reporting and investigating. And so we wanted to make sure that impartial investigators were replaced so that they would not feel that their privacy was being violated throughout the process. And then lastly, we wanted to host sexual assault ally training for student leaders, because we saw that oftentimes student leaders were taking advantage of their position, and we wanted to make sure that they were given some sort of precedent for how they should behave with the students that they oversee. And so as you can see from the demands, we actually did create a lot of progress. Both of our immediate demands were addressed before the end of the year, which I think is very important. And also one of our long-term demands was actually addressed within the first year. So I think even though we were a new organization, by conducting all of this research and using every resource that we had, we were able to establish ourselves as a respected organization on our campus, and also hold our administration accountable for keeping our students safe.
Thank you so much, Sophie. Really, this campaign brings me so much happiness for the data that you all used in order to inform your changes that you wanted to make, and really being able to use data as a meaningful tool to convince folks in power that the change was necessary. So I'm so happy you got to share your story today. But without further ado and taking up no more time, I want to present Amber Wynne, who's the president of the PB Gen Action chapter at Hampton University in Virginia. So Amber, passing out to you, just tell me next when you're ready for me to move from slide to slide.
All right, perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Amber Wynne. I'm going to use she, her, hers pronouns. I am a nursing major criminal justice minor at Hampton University. And like Kate said, I am the president of Hampton University Generation Action. Just to give a little bit of information regarding Hampton University, just for a background, we are a historically Black college and university, also known as an HBCU. There are two types of colleges in this nation. So there's PWIs, which are predominantly white institutions, and HBCUs. HBCUs were created under the purpose that at the time, basically at the time in this country, Black people were not seen as valuable enough to have an education. So these institutions were created so that we could be liberated and further our education ourselves personally. So that explains our demographics. And at Hampton University, 90% of our student body is Black. Approximately 65% of our student body identifies as female. And, you know, considering our history and with everything that we have being a historically Black college, you would think that our administration would be pretty liberal, but unfortunately, they're extremely conservative. And personally, I think that stems from the fact that with being a historically Black college, there's a lot of traditions, and they think that when we want to make change, we're trying to destroy the whole institution. In reality, we're just trying to improve upon it. So with that being said, that's where Hampton University Generation Action comes in. And our campus campaign project this year was the Period Project. I know this project does not involve sexual assault or domestic violence. However, this was a project that I wanted to present to you guys because with COVID-19, because of how detailed we are with our campus campaign and the structure of it, we were able to adapt to our environment. So with that being said, I'll introduce the project. So the Period Project was to create accessibility for all for all students on the campus of Hampton University. We wanted to have period pantries within every academic building, dorm, as well as a gender neutral location for our gender non-conforming individuals, as well as our transgender individuals. So with that being said, within our campus campaign, we focus on three main points: the issue, the person in power, and the solution. Just for the purposes of this presentation, I did kind of condense it, but just know that when we actually had our real campaign, it was extremely detailed, because when you are presenting a project that you want the school to implement, you need to be very concise in your demands and what you want. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts, and the school can't say, well, you didn't tell us this, so we didn't make it happen. So with that being said, the main issues, we had two. For one, there was a lack of menstrual products on campus. The menstrual products were only located in women's bathrooms. With that being said, there were never products in the bathroom stalls. If there were, the machines were broken, or when you gave the money, there would never be a product distributed out. So we wanted to see if we could do something to combat that, as well as there was a decreased accessibility to students. So with that being said, since it was only available in women's bathroom stalls, we know that menstruation is not a women's issue and that it affects everybody. So we wanted to see if we could create a gender neutral location. So for our students who are gender non-conforming and transgender, they don't have to feel obligated to go into the women's bathroom if that's not the gender they identify in. And we also wanted to have a private, discreet location so that students will feel comfortable walking up to it. In addition, uniquely to Hampton University, we also have a rule where you're not allowed to have a car on campus until you are a junior. So the nearest Walgreens is about a 10 to 15 minute walk, and that walk is not necessarily the safest. And then you could also take an Uber, but that's about a $7 Uber, plus paying $7 for a menstrual product, not to mention the tampon tax. And then you also have to pay for transportation back. So for that entire trip, you're more likely spending $20 for one pack of tampons or pads, which is a little outrageous. So we realized we had to know exactly who we wanted to hit in terms of getting this program implemented officially on campus. And we realized we had to connect with our administration. At our campus, it is extremely difficult to work with our administration. They're extremely conservative. I don't know if you guys have seen the news, but the vice president of our institution was at our the vice president of the country was at Hampton University. He came to visit our Cancer Research Institute, which was pretty alarming for us. We did not want him there, but it's just kind of amazing how conservative they are. But we realized with this project, we would have to have the student support. So we reached out to the Student Government Association. And fortunately enough, on our campus, we have 3 branches. We have a men's caucus, a women's caucus, and an SGA Senate. And the SGA Senate, you can actually create bills to be implemented on our campus. So if you need new washers and dryers on campus, you need new desks in a certain classroom, this is the organization that you would go to. So fortunately, as an SGA senator and in the leadership position within that organization, I obviously sought this organization out. So our solution, we wanted to create period pantries. We knew that we wanted the apparatus to be kind of like a cabinet, so it was discreet, but there was no lock, so students could easily open it and close it. We also had to find the pricing for that, but that's a whole nother story. We also had to identify locations of where they were and provide proof that, hey, these menstrual product dispensers are not working, or there is a lack of menstrual product dispensers. We knew that we needed the student support, so we went to the students to have them complete a survey. And ideally for our student population, we want to get 10% of the 5,000 students at Hampton University to complete this survey, which we were successful in, and I'm very grateful. But we knew in order to have this survey be taken seriously, unfortunately, our school is really finicky. So we needed to have proof that these students belong to Hampton University. And we were able to do that through having them identify their student ID or have them identify their Hampton University email as proof. We also asked them whether or not they were on campus or off campus, because we wanted to hit, let's say 75% of the students who completed the survey live on campus. Of that 75%, let's say 88% of those students had experienced menstrual inequity, which further pushed our point for our movement. Now, once we hit our survey cap, we realized, okay, time to get this bill going. So I drafted up the bill to be submitted through SGA. However, COVID-19 had a different plan. But it actually was a blessing in disguise, because it was brought to my attention that our student government some individuals had an idea to use the period project for their personal gain. And as activists, we know we don't do this for the gratification or the credit. However, when you put a lot of work into something, you want to ensure that the people who are taking over your project protect it the same way that you would. So I decided, let's try to figure out a way around SGA. And with that being said, that's where the reproductive hotline comes in. Last September, our founding president, Micaiah Thomas, as well as a former community service chair of Generation Action, her name was Alexandria Brown, they created this emergency reproductive hotline, which distribute free emergency contraception to students, as well as some forms of birth control. They answer sexual health questions, as well as serving as an emergency services escort to students who are in need. And we wanted to build upon that project. I'm very, very blessed to say that this upcoming September, we will be relaunching the hotline, and we'll be adding the period project as well as free pregnancy tests. And that's just super exciting, because although our campus, we will be doing virtual classes, there will be a lot of students in the surrounding area. So it was really important that we still have this service available to students, and we're looking to potentially have donors so that we can ship products to students who may not be in Virginia to ensure that every student has accessibility. And can we go to the next slide so I can do pictures? So we all love some pictures and graphics, because what is a PowerPoint without pictures? Moving from my right to my left, social media is your biggest ally in terms of campus campaigns, especially in today's era with COVID-19. On my right, we had the period project graphic that we use on Instagram, using graphics that are very eye-catching. So for example, the tampon really stands out. That is extremely helpful, because when people see that, they automatically go, oh, that's Hampton University Generation Action. Let me send this real quick, or let me complete this. We also learned with our in-person canvassing that it was hard for students to complete the survey while they were standing there with us, because we were a lot of the time catching students on their way to other classes. So we created a QR code, and we made it the Planned Parenthood pink, so it was easily identifiable from other organizations on our campus, because no other organization uses that color specifically. And by actually having a QR code, we did not realize that we were mobilizing potential volunteers, because what would happen is someone would complete the survey and they would be like, hey, have you seen this survey yet? And then another person would be scanning it. So it kind of had a ripple effect. So I definitely recommend using QR codes, especially you can use them online on Instagram and like have people submit them so they can like pass it around themselves. And lastly, on my left, I have my picture of me and my people. I absolutely miss them. But this was us at a period movement rally in Norfolk, Virginia, I believe. And this was also a very instrumental part in our survey process because we had more than one version of the survey. We had a student survey, a staff and faculty survey, as well as a outside support survey. So the student survey was to prove that this is what the students want. The staff and faculty was to show that our teachers, our professors, even the janitor stands with us. That was a little bit difficult because our university has a tendency to fire people who are in power who speak against them. So, but we did get some support through that. And then our outside resources survey, which is this, you can't see it on my computer, but that's where that's the survey that people were completing, was to show that we were being seen outside of the Hampton Roads area. We had different organizations that we reached out to. They saw our work and they asked if they could help promote it, which actually helped apply pressure to our university, because they knew, oh wow, like other people are seeing that we are lacking in this area. So it really made them go, okay, we need to step up our game. So yeah, that's the period project. I'm very, very proud of it. It's going to be really amazing to see this project come to fruition this September. And I'm actually really proud to say we just got our first shipment of donations yesterday. I just picked them up. So I'll keep you all in tabs for what it looks like this upcoming September.
Thank you so much, Amber. Truly love hearing about this project. I feel like I've now been on maybe 3 calls with Amber, Amber presenting this, and it just gets me every time. I think something I want to point out here is that although, you know, if some of y'all are, you know, not green organizers, you've been around the block for a couple of campaigns, you'll often hear in the progressive organizing space that mutual aid isn't organizing, right? That it's just donations and community work. But mutual aid is organizing. When the people in power can't give you what you want, or won't give it to you, it is so important to take the data and the supporters and the donations that you've worked so hard on and take it into your own hands and do the work yourself. Hampton, y'all have just done this time and time again to support your community, even in the face of true adversity of Hampton just being wild all the time and not wanting y'all to succeed. So this is always so exciting to see, and I'm so excited to see this year launch. It's really the perfect moment for it, truly. But now that we've heard from our student leaders a little bit about their campaigns, I hope y'all participants didn't think that we were just going to sit up here and talk the whole time, because we certainly aren't. We're actually going to break out very, very shortly into parent shares. So I'll break you out. So just, you're going to give me a minute to like stop sharing my screen and to break you out. That will take a couple of seconds. Zoom isn't the quickest application when it comes to that. But you'll be broken out into two people per group. In that time, you'll have about, I believe I did the time math, you'll have about 35 minutes to really get into a deep conversation about things that you can be organizing around in your own communities. So if you could first share your name, your pronouns, and your campus or your location, then share what problem are you facing in your own community on your campus. Then potentially brainstorm some potential solutions. I'm sure if you experienced a problem on your campus, this isn't your first time thinking about what the solutions might be. Maybe thinking about policy-focused solutions that can be sustained for the long term. And then finally, think about who is that person in power that can help you accomplish the solution. You know, we heard in Sophie's story that it was a whole group of people, right? It was the president of the university, it was the dorm advisors, it was a whole slew of folks that really came together to meet that need. And for Amber's survey, you know, the people in power were administration, but potentially finding, it was important for Amber's story to find other folks that could potentially influence that administration. And I love the example, Amber, that you give around having outside organizations apply pressure to Hampton administration, because we know at HBCUs, sometimes that grassroots approach doesn't work, and what Hampton and other HBCUs really need is that outside influence. They're very, very concerned about their image, so they want to make sure that if outside organizations say something's wrong, that they got to respond to that. So then one person will go, and then the other person that didn't answer those 4 questions will provide some feedback. Maybe you've experienced a similar problem on your campus, or you've heard about a similar problem and you've thought of these solutions. Or maybe you're familiar with the campus that they're talking about, and you know some of the people in power who might be familiar with how to get those solutions. And then once you've done that coaching, then you'll switch halfway through. And don't worry, I'll make notes in the chat to let y'all know exactly when the halfway point has occurred. So that is what's going to happen. I'm going to pause here. Do folks have any questions in the chat before I start the breakout? You can use the chat to ask the questions. I love that that was my visual aid of what chatting looks like. All right, as y'all are thinking of your questions, I'm going to stop sharing. And then I'm going to begin the breakout room. Okay. Of course, if you do have any questions that pop up, you can use the chat to be able to reach us, and I'll pop in and out of different chat rooms as needed to answer any questions. But I'm going to start the breakout room process now. So we have, oh y'all, I said we were going to do breakouts and then people dropped out, but that's okay. Y'all are going to have some really important conversations. So let's see, we've got 13 people. That is 13. We'll do 6 breakout rooms. Amber and Sophie, you'll be broken out into rooms as well. I will too, but feel free to just provide coaching as needed. I think Kira, you're also going to be broken out. So if you want to hop back into the main space, feel free, and I can remake the breakout room for your partner. But we will get us started. Actually, since it's not that many people, let me do manual. So if we have 15 minus 4. All right. Okay, that actually worked incredibly. All right, I'm going to open all rooms. So you should have gotten a little notification that a breakout room has started. All right, folks are joining. All right, I see some folks haven't joined. So Lizzie, I'm going to move you to breakout room 3. Great. All right, so I think there are 2 rooms that are actively pairing and sharing right now. Other folks who are still here, feel free to join your room. I'm going to move some of you around. So if you do want to join a room, you will be with people. But Amber, Sophie, we're just going to stay in here. I believe y'all as co-hosts can just join. Does it show you the option to just join a room if you want? No? Do either of you want to join a room to listen?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Okay, you're gonna have to, give me a second. Let's see, assign to room 3 and then assign to room 4. Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Enjoy.
Here just in case you need me, but I don't need
Yeah,
to.
great. Have folks not done here? Do you want, I'll pause. Hello everyone. I'm gonna share my screen again. Let's do that. Share. All right, can y'all see my screen? Thumbs up. Some thumbs. Great, thank you. Awesome. Well, I think some folks are still, let me look. Let's see. I have to look at the participants. I believe we've got some folks coming back to us in the main room. I will get us started and sort of ask, this is our time to debrief. So I know that there were 2 main groups. I'd love to sort of hear report outs from either of the 2 groups. So does breakout room 3 want to report out on how your conversation went? Maybe tell us a little bit about what your partner's campaign idea was about. And you can come off mute and on camera. I promise we're very cool people. You don't need to be off camera. I was hoping that maybe when people came back in, they'd get back on camera. I will
know what numbers the groups were. If you
so,
want to say
breakout room 3 was Arun, Lizzie, and Sophie, I believe.
Okay, Lizzie, if you want to talk about what we discussed. So Megan had to jump off early, but Lizzie, I think we had some great conversations.
Yeah, Lizzie, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, so we were just talking about like at my school, like sexual assault is like something that like we don't really talk about, and our administration oftentimes just kind of like waits for like the people who like are passionate about like reforming that, like how the school deals with sexual violence, and they just wait for those people to graduate, or they like pretend like they're going to do something and then like wait for that fire to like burn down. And we were talking about how although in Illinois it's mandated that all universities have to do like prevention and awareness training. Sorry, I actually have to go. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Thank you for setting us up. Maybe Sophie can sort of finish the thought. But thank you so much for being here. Good luck with whatever's going on.
Yeah, so since we talked about the school kind of waiting for people to graduate, we tried to think about a more sustainable approach, and Megan, who is our other breakout member, thought about contacting donors. So on all of our schools, we had a problem with the school saying, well, we'll lose donors if we take this action. So if we contact the donors who would support providing more support for sexual assault survivors, like then they would be experiencing pressure on both sides, and they would have to, come to a decision. And also that would be able to create pressure for people to still provide these services, even if like we're potentially online. So I think donors are a powerful resource that we didn't discuss in our presentations, but would also be sustainable.
Yeah, donor and alumni are really powerful audiences. I know particularly, Amber, I don't know if you want to talk about like the alumni power for HBCUs, but I know that particularly for HBCUs, alumni as an audience is really important.
Yeah, so at Hampton particularly, our alumni go hard for us, especially since they've like our campus, oh my goodness, I apologize for the background noise, but like for homecoming, all of our alumni come back. They also like, it's kind of cool, like they check in with the clubs and organizations that they were a part of because we're a really tight-knit group. So I think most recently we had an alumni from like 2 or 3 years ago created a petition to have a specific athletic director fired because he made a statement at an all-Black school saying all lives matter, even cops. And we understand what he meant to say, but it's kind of like, you go to a Black school, you have Black children, the students you teach are Black. So you have to understand how like the sayings that you're used are being used by a certain group of people that are harming you, people that look like you, people that look like your children, people that look like your students. And I think in a matter of a week, he got like 15,000 signatures. He still works at our school, but our athletic director department gets bombarded with emails saying he needs to go because our alumni won't put up with that. So alumni and outside resources, especially donors, would be a great resource to look to for help.
Yeah, and often alumni can be donors. So finding those alumni that might have been a part of your work prior to their graduation, seeing if they are donors or if they know other donors is a great way to sort of identify a larger outside community outside your own campus bubble. Awesome. Thank you all for that report out. So I want to ask the second breakout room, which I believe was Amber, Sarah, and Vanessa. Does someone want to share what their partner shared around the issue they're experiencing on campus?
Oh, okay. Hello, this is Sarah. I didn't realize I could unmute myself because I was at the earlier meeting and you couldn't unmute. But I would love to share if that's okay.
Yeah, please go for it.
Okay, so we were talking both, let me see, sorry, I forgot, but both Vanessa and I was driving for most of the time, so I was just talking on my phone. But both Vanessa and I live in California, and for me, I go to Cal State San Marcos, so San Diego area, and what I said originally was I transferred from Palomar to San Marcos, and which Palomar is a community college, and it actually has a pretty good like mental health and sexual violence system. There's small things that could be fixed. Like I do think that we have an awesome sexual violence advocate at our school, but she's one person for the whole student body, which I think is just very overwhelming. And she does a great job. Like when the pandemic started, she was taking, she was doing calls to people who needed extra support during the week. And she wouldn't like cut you off or anything. Like she just gave her extra time when a lot of staff and faculty would not reach out to the students when the pandemic happened, other than to say hopefully everyone's safe kind of thing, which was not. It was like a general statement. So that's pretty good. And we do the programs like Take Back the Night and other things for awareness. I always think there could be more. In our group, we were talking mainly about education needing to be there, and training for faculty and staff, and also like the training for the students, because there is a not anymore training that people take right before the semester starts each time, and it is good that they let people who are survivors choose if they want to take that or not, but it's also very generalized, and it's usually correlating somehow, even if it's like just barely connecting alcohol to sexual violence and like intoxication to sexual violence, and it's like that's not always the case. It it can happen, but a lot of stereotypes are really solidified with those kind of trainings. And also we were talking about other issues like disabilities with students and stuff, and how faculty and staff do not address that properly. I've had teachers just say, well, you kind of have to deal with it your own. Like I do have a learning disability, and like they kind of just like brush you away, and you have to talk to other third party situations, and like the teachers just don't understand and like seem kind of cold about it. So that's something. But back to the sexual violence, also the fact that it's not treated as a human problem in most situations. It's more of women are the victims and men are the perpetrators of these crimes. Or this violence, and it's really it's pretty close if you look at the statistics. Like yes, women tend to at least be reporting more sexual violence than men, but it's just like creates such a issue with like reporting and all that stuff and feeling safe if men think, oh well, it's a women's problem. And like I talked about in the group how I had a women and gender studies class, and the teacher, we were all talking about sexual violence. It was a very heavy class one day, and everybody, including the teacher, kept saying, it's a women's problem, but like it should be a men's problem because the men are the perpetrators. Like the men are the ones who are committing these crimes, and they kept just saying men, 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 men. And I actually raised my hand and I was like, well, actually men experience violence from women and also from other men that's in the sexual nature too. And, I said that, and my teacher actually said in front of the whole class, oh, you're just going and defending men now. And I was like, okay, I'm just trying, like, I'm a survivor of sexual violence myself. So I'm like, that doesn't make sense. I'm just trying to bring up the fact that everyone's making generalizations here. And I feel like that's so much, in a formal setting, in an informal setting, everyone just, does that. And then last point, I can keep talking about this forever. The last point, I was in this session this morning with for the summit. And I think there's a lot of great ideas and a lot of great plans for combating sexual violence in campuses and in, everyday life. But I notice a lot of people don't address the base foundation of this sexual violence culture, which is like intimidation, fear, silence, invalidation, all this stuff. And if we don't address that first and combat that, make it safer for people to report, make it feel like all genders, any type of human can report and feel confident, whether it's reporting to their faculty or to law enforcement or whatever it is, whatever they feel comfortable, like those base things of, hopefully getting a clearer view of actually what the statistics are through reporting, making people feel heard. I don't think we can tackle these bigger projects and make it long lasting. That's what I was talking about in the group. But yeah, I'm sorry. With that, I pass because I will keep going forever. But
I mean, I hear you. There are so many issues that are compounded by other issues that are impacted by other issues that it feels sometimes insurmountable. I'm curious, did you all sort of come up with any potential first step solutions to be able to even start addressing what that first problem that you said needs to be dealt with first?
I think personally, just the education because again, some schools do have a program in place or things in place to educate people in quotation marks there. But the problem is a lot of it is just flawed and also not thorough enough and also misleading. Because again, like our training that I don't need to take it. Like if people, have experienced things, they can opt out of that training. But again, it does, well, it's not saying alcohol is directly correlated to sexual violence. It's pretty much saying like this is a situation that like it would happen in. And it's also can be misleading for like, oh, but what if you don't experience it that way that the video suggests or whatever? Like it's there. And then also I think the lack of interest, because I was talking about this too in our group, of how if you personally have not experienced it, or you might not think you know someone, which we realize like the statistics, you probably know someone who has experienced sexual violence in your social group, but if it doesn't feel like it's touching you or it couldn't happen to you, then it's not that big of a deal. And that's what I've noticed with people of just, oh, well, like they'll stop by a stand if there's an event going by, but they're not going to go do their own research or try to stand up for that if it doesn't affect them. Yeah. So yeah, education is the answer. The short answer to that.
Education is often the answer. So I definitely think you potentially have some really good first thoughts on potential solutions. I think it will really just be about finding those allies within the administration to help you get those solutions. And I do want to move us on to my next slide, because if you do need help, I think potentially folks on this call all potentially need some support around good educational resources. Planned Parenthood, obviously, we are the nation's largest sexual and healthcare provider and the largest sex education provider, which includes good consent training that is not based off of tea or other metaphors or talks about how alcohol is the only way that you'll experience sexual assault or violence. We do have really good sexual consent resources that I'd be happy to share with folks if you're curious. So if you are interested in getting involved, I've dropped some links on the slide and I'll also type them in here. So you can, if you're interested in starting your own PB Gen chapter or finding a PB Gen chapter to run your campaign with, you can head to ppact.io/action hub. That is where you can find your local action councils. Or if you're just interested in learning a little bit more about what Planned Parenthood does, you can also head to plannedparenthoodaction.org/events, and there you can find some events. I don't think I have to explain to y'all what our events are usually based on around summer, fall, before an election, but they are a little bit electoral heavy right now. All of that being said, if you are interested in getting more resources around consent training, I've also dropped my email. I can share that with y'all. I'm kate.cartagena@ppfa.org. Amber and Sophie, y'all are welcome to share your email or not welcome. It's up to you. But we are all resources here to talk to y'all about your work. But now I think we're 4 minutes out. If folks have any questions, please, you can come off mute. I think if you're on the phone, it's *4 to unmute, but if you're on your computer, it's just the little unmute button and you can unmute yourself. We'd be happy to answer any questions. All right. Let me move this. See Amber and Sophie, thanks for dropping your emails. Well, I'm not hearing any questions, not seeing any questions. I'd be happy to give y'all 3 minutes back to get yourself some water, to go to the bathroom, get a snack, pet your cats, whatever you want to do. But I think I will stop sharing and I will hit stop recording.